Could you please explain to me what's happening in Canada?
With Trudeau or with other
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah. Like what that is about.
It's been kind of going on for I guess 6 months now. I mean, it started with the whole axe the tax carbon thing, right? Where inflation was just going crazy with COVID and post-COVID inflation rates, and then everyone just started complaining, blaming. They just point the finger at something, and it's easy to point the finger at new taxes. The carbon tax was going up and up and up, and it was always supposed to go up and up and up to get the companies to switch over. But it got to the point where it started to be noticeable finally. When it first came in, it was a few cents on the gas, but each year it kind of went up. And each year, it just became a bigger thing for the conservatives or the opposition to point the finger at. Oh, this is why people can't afford groceries. It's the carbon tax. So that was kind of where it started. And then obviously there's always a million different, conspiracies or contradictions that politicians always do, right? They're always kind of telling something and doing something else, and they've always got backroom deals. They're always making deals with their friends and their other friends. There's corruption all over the place in all parties. So obviously Justin Trudeau got caught on a few different corruption things, dealing just like all of them do eventually. But he's been in power for almost 10 years. It's one of the longest, PMs in the world, or in Canada anyway, in Canada's history. So he's kind of had a good ride. And I think, it finally got to him. He finally ran out of ways to lie about him being, better. I'm very sad that the carbon tax got the brunt of it and it's going to be gone, because that was one of my biggest,
Hmm.
favorite things that the Liberals did when they stole it from the Greens 10 years ago. It was one of the main reasons I decided to stop running for politics, is because the Liberals adopted our carbon tax. And that was something I thought was the most important thing. But anyway, so that's kind of come full circle. Obviously, the pendulum's switching back, and we're on the Trump conservative mindset now. So Justin will highly likely he finally decided to resign a couple days ago. And who knows if whoever he brings in will have any hope in heck at trying to mend what's already been broken, as far as the confidence of the Canadian people to actually do things truthfully, honestly, and transparently for the good of Canada. But I still like Trudeau. I still would have voted for him myself, but I'm in the minority of people who actually think carbon tax is a good idea and that we need
Yeah.
to continue to tax our pollution
So
to
your
encourage
your
people to.
bets, how long until Canada is the 51st state of the United States of
Oh
America?
yeah, see, I don't think that's ever going to happen. That's all bluster. Although this tariff thing is interesting. It's definitely going to hurt us a lot. So if it comes down to some kind of negotiation tactic where we become more interchange, like NAFTA was supposed to kind of make us, free trade. It's supposed to make us
Hmm.
similar to the States in the way that we can trade freely. So if we can come up with some kind of new NAFTA deal
Yeah,
that
almost
makes
like
us.
some union in Europe.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We don't mind that. Like, as long as they don't try to take away our healthcare, right?
Hmm.
Because all Canadians like free healthcare. That's probably the biggest difference in my mind
Hmm.
between Canada and the States, is we actually care about our cancer patients, and even if they're poor, they still deserve treatment for their cancer, and whatever else might be wrong. So that's not going anywhere. I can't see Canadians giving that up without a massive, I mean, fight. I guess if the U.S. wanted to, obviously they could walk over us, a million times faster than Russia, and they wouldn't hit any real response whatsoever unless the world decided to kind of chip in. I just can't see it happening though. If the U.S. wanted us, they could conquer us in probably a week or two if they really wanted us. Like, if they wanted to show their hat as the evil, Putin-like person that they are, and just
Yeah,
conquer
well,
Canada, they could do
yeah.
it a million times
Somebody
faster than Ukraine.
argued that it's actually like, yeah, do you want to give like more reasons to Russia to like feel justified in like, yeah, here's some like resources and people like that are basically my country anyway, so I'm gonna take it with force. You're basically justifying exactly
Yeah,
what they did if you do that.
I mean, they've kind of come this far by pretending to be the good guy, and attacking Canada or conscripting Canada anyway would make it extremely, visual, extremely obvious to everyone in the world that they are not the good guy.
Yeah, because
They essentially
basically like
funded this
like doing
war.
that to Canada, like the country that
Yeah,
obviously is like just known
it,
for being nice.
yeah,
That's
we're the
the
Ned Flanders neighbor.
yeah.
We're totally the Ned Flanders neighbor. It's like running into Ned Flanders' house with a machine gun, basically slapping him upside the face and say, "Give me all your money, Ned Flanders." Um, it wouldn't happen. I can't see it happening.
Mhm.
Any world that's not post-apocalyptic dystopian, it's just bluster, and it's just Trump kind of trying to look sound tough and trying to
Yeah,
negotiate his way into making
yeah, well,
a new NAFTA that's a better
I
deal for the
actually
states.
I am leaning in the same direction that it is his negotiation tactic that he's like says all these kinds of things to get better deal, which I guess is also sort of legitimate. It's just like obviously like lowbrow and offensive or whatever, but it is a negotiating tactic. Like it is a kind of a deal making thing that the kinds of like it's just like it's a deal making tactic that's used usually by types of people who normally wouldn't be president, but normally would be just like at much lower level dealing with some sort of like well, housing, like he did, like basically building hotels or whatever. Like it's like I can totally imagine any hotelier like doing these sorts of like blustery, like scorched earth threats, so that they can like strong arm somebody out of like an apartment or whatever. Like that does make some kind of sense. It's just, and if this is like in the Greenland too, and the Gulf of America, and the war with Mexico, and just do all the things. Why not?
It is a little scary, I have to admit, but I have to assume and hope, that Trump's doesn't want World War III, and he doesn't want, to come out as the tyrant that he is openly. That he'll do his best to just, say what he likes to say for attention, and make some kind of deal with us that is mutually profitable to some extent. More profitable for them, obviously, but mutually beneficial. Like we've had NAFTA in the past. NAFTA was very beneficial for both.
Yeah, which reminds me something that's very hard to ignore for the book, like Elon Musk going like full supervillain lately and just trying to nakedly control politics of various countries. Yeah. I think the last one was UK, but he dug up that some sort of like a 10-year-old scandal or whatever, so that everybody pays attention to that and not to him and Vivek Ramaswamy like angering everybody in MAGA by saying that they're idiots. That was a whole hilarious thing.
It is, and it's definitely, if he can win this war in MAGA and turn MAGA into something, let's see, a little more intelligent or a little more efficient. Let's just say efficient. Efficient's a better word than intelligent. Because arguing and politicking and polarizing is never really efficient. It might win you elections. It might, get you donations because people donate more when they're angry. So that makes sense. So like polarizing has its place for certain things. But now that the election's over, now that we're kind of looking forward to solutions, polarizing does not really help in the way of solving things. So Elon, I think, is much more focused on solving things, which is, again, to his credit, if he can get through this polarizing stuff and somehow, conquer the MAGA conversation to turn it, actually make America great again, doing what they're wanting, cut through some of the efficiencies, cut through some of the problems. I'm not necessarily against him being, the world tyrant leader. Like if he does it altruistically and he does it for the greater good of mankind to get us to Mars and to get
that's the thing. I think
society.
I think that's the problem. I think everything he's doing now is like very self centered in that, like it's like just for his own benefit. Like last couple of things when he acquired Twitter, and he was like, he's saying the right stuff at the beginning, like freedom of speech, the censorship stuff was bad or whatever, and then he's like censoring everybody who says anything not nice about him specifically.
I hear you. I still think it's a lot better than Trump or Putin. Like if I had to choose who would rule the world, I would choose Elon over Trump or Putin like every day of the week, 1,000 times more. Like I just feel like he's more intelligent and he's better at running the world in a way that's not going to kill us all.
Well, I mean, it's just like basically just an oligarch. Like he doesn't seem to have some sort of like a completely irrational nationalistic jingoistic thing going on. It's just like I think the problem is, I think like that's always been a problem with Elon. I think it's sort of like a weakness in his character, in that like the more sort of people are saying negative things about him, the more it's sort of like deranging him. And I think he's been like much more in a much better place early on, when most people were sort of positively minded toward him. Then now it's sort of, I think it feels like it's sort of like spiraling, and I'm not sure like if there's any other direction that with his spiraling than into like a worse state of mind, because then it's sort of the thing with the MAGA is sort of interesting when it revealed the sort of fundamental clash of principles that never made sense in the movement, because it's basically a movement that's serving the very rich people, and it's mostly voted for by people in the exact opposite position. And the visas are the exact sort of point of contention where the people who voted for it definitely don't want more, capable immigrants to come to the country because then they're taking away their jobs, while it's clearly in the interest of the billionaires to be able to bring in more people from elsewhere so that they can sort of pay them less. And I'm not entirely sure how these sort of like from a certain point of view, like two evils, how they like will end up squaring against each other. I'm interested to see the sort of President Trump versus President Elon kind of thing, how that's gonna play out, because that's sort of
It's
chaotic.
nice to see Trump have someone from his own camp kind of battling him for supremacy. I like to see that. So that's where I'm kind of optimistic that they'll figure it out together somehow. I don't know how right now. It's definitely, you can look at it from the negative point of view. They're going to destroy each other and the world's going to end, but you might as well try to be hopeful. You might as well try to say, okay, I think both these guys don't want Armageddon. I think both these guys want to figure out some way for Americans, potentially the world, to eat tomorrow. For the world to get along somehow without, Armageddon World War III scenario. So I think all of them, even Putin, I think, is to some extent in that battle to prevent World War III. They all want their best.
I mean, Putin could have
want World War III.
Yeah, Putin could have already launched nukes. Like, it clearly doesn't want to do that
any
because
one
he
of
knows
those three guys, any one of those three guys could end the world tomorrow if they wanted to. Any one of them, even Elon. Like, he doesn't have his button on the nukes, but he's got his button on enough people that if he wanted to, he could end the world. If he actually went full, James Bond villain, he could end the world or conquer whatever is left.
Literally in that way. Yeah, literally in that way, like using his like satellites or whatever to set up some sort of false flag thing that would like make somebody launch a nuke or whatever. Exactly like in a Bond movie. Like, pretty much.
So the fact that all of them have this power and haven't used it yet, to me, is optimistic. It means none of them really want, a post-apocalyptic world, situation where they come out in the top, where they're the villain and they rule the world. I don't think any of them want that. They like the world as it is to some extent. They want to keep it slogging along and hopefully keep progressing, keep making it slightly better, incrementally better for themselves first, but also for everyone, because, the rising tide rises all boats, as we said before, that you don't like that comment. But I happen to think it's hopefully optimistic that they'll figure out.
No, like I would, when you put it like this, I would definitely agree that of the three of them, and even if you put like the Xi Jinping in there, like the Chinese president, like of all the like world sort of most powerful people, I think Elon is the most likely to actually also like do something, even if he was continue to be self-interested to the max. Like, he's, I guess, the most likely to also do the like, and also lift something else. The other ones, I think their plans are more maybe because they're more irrational. They're sort of more likely to just either backfire or like result in this sort of like old model of like there being the emperor and like everybody else being well, precisely the kind of thing that the American Revolution was supposed to basically end forever. Precisely a kind of bad past model.
So coming back full circle to try to wrap up the discussion, we can definitely throw this up as some kind of podcast for what's happening in Canada or what's happening with Elon.
To 2025 update.
Yeah, 2025 update on the state of the world, the state of our union. I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic that we can find a way forward and that we can realize in 2025, with AI agents all around spreading, good information and intelligent information, making us all smarter because we all have AI agents to do this work for us. I'm optimistic that we can finally realize that we're all in this together, regardless of what side you're on, regardless of what your political beliefs, which country you happen to cheer for as your main team. We're all in this together. We all want to see the game continue. We're all heavily invested in seeing the game continue and continue in a more entertaining, a more, interesting and fun way for all of us, to be able to eat tomorrow and live tomorrow in a better way than today. I think all of us are on board with that same goal. If you say it simply, we all want to eat tomorrow. We all want to live tomorrow in a better way. So no matter where you want to point the finger, Trudeau, Elon, Trump, I think they're all doing what they think is best for the world, even if obviously some of them are wrong in some cases. But I don't think it's that important to kind of point out their flaws as it is to try to figure out how we move forward together, how we bring the conversation back to saving the world together. And that's what this podcast is all about, is trying to figure out how to encourage all these powers that be, the 1%ers as well as all the 99% of the bottom, to realize we're in this together. Let's save the world together. So that's the message for 2025. We'll continue to push it forward in any way we can, bring on some new guests for you. Hopefully we'll coordinate with my son a lot more in the new year. He's doing his Treetop Treaties thing, still doing one podcast a week there. So we'll bring him on, and we'll try to get as many interesting guests for all of you as possible. But Martin, is there any messages that you'd like to send out to our viewers as far as we starting the, I guess this would be season 4, or as far as when we started, as far as our focus for the new year, or where you'd like to see this podcast go?
Well, 4, I think it's just good numbers. Maybe you could make it fantastic. Like a fantastic 4 season. I think that would be great. Other than that, yeah, like it might actually look, I would say, it might look like fairly grim to many people in the world, like the stuff that's happening lately. But at the same time, despite how grim it looks, again, we are still here. And it really looks like that despite all the bluster, even the more unhinged people with various fingers and buttons in the world still feel like the world should continue. So let's take that as the foundation and start like working from there toward maybe some sort of better state of affairs.
There's our brief message for all of you. It's been a couple of weeks since we posted, so Happy New Year, everyone. Happy holidays, and let's save the world together. See you next time.